Now, if you hit the ball worse when you are doing this, clearing the hips in the downswing, this is a very common thing a lot of players run into, because you will be either doing things wrong in your golf swing, having little faults that when you clear your hips, absolutely exaggerate that fault, or just generally how you are trying to clear the hips is a little bit wrong. So we're going to get into the main reasons of why you'll be hitting the ball worse when you clear those hips, but of course a fix for each of those reasons and how to do it properly. Because when you get this into your swing, clear the hips properly, you'll be hitting the ball the best you have ever hit it in your life. So the first of the 5 things here that you will be doing wrong that causes you to hit the ball worse when you clear the hips is by far the most common one, and that is your trail side, so right side moving forward as you are starting that downswing. So this is the absolute killer. If you are trying to clear those hips with the right side first, you could have a bunch of things happen. So when golfers say they're getting stuck because they're clearing the hips too fast, they're not clearing the hips too fast, they're doing it with the right side. So when that right side drives forward, the right arm is going to get naturally stuck behind you. So that's where then you will run out of your hip rotation early, because there's only so much you can push that right side forward before it stops, and then you have to then fire the arms going through there. So you're not doing it too early, and you are not doing it too much. You're just doing it with the complete wrong side of your body. Because if clearing your hips got you stuck and you don't want to do it because of that, every single top player in the world who has amazing hip movement should technically be getting stuck, but they don't. So that's where what they're doing instead, they are getting that left side moving back first, of course, if they're a right-handed golfer, their lead side. That is the key, that's what we want. We want that left side moving back as we are coming down in that downswing. We don't want the right side moving forward because that pushes everything forward. We want that left side moving back. So this is where, when you do that, it gives you that squatting move. So squatting move in the golf swing, what that actually is you moving into hip flexion. So where you get that left side moving back and it flexes the hips down, moves the upper body down and flexes it forward as a result. That gets the arms in front. You can see how I naturally get a good right arm movement because of this as well. And then I just continue to push that left side back and move through the golf ball. And I've got a great drill to do for this, to get this movement into your game. And what this drill is, just grab a wedge, put the wedge underneath your right foot there. Now with this wedge, you want to then angle the shaft so it's just behind your left calf of your left leg. So what we want to do from there, all we want to feel is as soon as we're starting the downswing, we want to be getting that left leg hitting the shaft that's behind it. So if you're keeping this club underneath your right heel, that's going to be keeping the right side at bay. So that's going to prevent that right side from moving forward. And as we go through the shot, post impact, we can let that club go. And then we just continue to turn through. So the keys here, making sure that left leg is hitting the shaft behind it as soon as you can, the downswing, and making sure that is underneath the foot still until post impact. Because if I drive that trail side, that right side forward, the club is going to immediately fall. So this is the best drill for getting the hips to clear properly. So this will be a lot of you out there will be because of this, but definitely there's still some others for these other reasons. So let's hit one here. Boom. And there we go. You're going to do it exactly perfectly from there. But what a lot of you are going to figure out, you might do it perfectly and you're thinking, God, I'm still not hitting the ball great. That's because there's movements in your golf swing that you're doing that when you add any sort of rotation to it, you're going to hit the ball bad. So that's where our other points are going to come into it. Okay, so the second reason here to why when you clear your hips, you hit the ball worse is because you do not have enough hand and arm depth at the top of your golf swing. So that is where when you are getting up to the top of your swing, you are just raising your hands and arms up. So just vertically lifting the arms up. Now, when you start to clear your hips or have any type of rotation in the downswing from there, the hands are going to fly out in front of you. So that's where you're going to get really swipey, really kind of over the top. That's so many of the golfers out there who say when they try to rotate or clear the hips, they just swing over the top. And again, that is not the rotation or clearing the hips on its own doing that. That has to be something else for you to be doing to be able to cause it. Where having a lack of hand and arm depth at the top is absolutely that. As soon as you add rotation, club's going to fly out in front of you. So No good. No good for loads of reasons, especially if you want to control your path and not swing over the top. So this is just a general good swing thing to be able to do, what we're going to talk about here. So you want to give yourself more hand and left arm depth or arm depth. So as you're swinging up to the top, I would like to see you at the top of your swing to where your left arm is covering your shoulder plane. Now it can be a little bit higher, can be a little bit lower, but roughly that is great, because if we are having that lead arm or left arm here covering that shoulder plane, as soon as I start to move down and I start to rotate, I start to clear my hips, the club isn't going to fly over the top, it's not going to get stuck on the inside, it's going to nicely move on path. So such an important one. It's one of the big things in the golf swing that controls your club path. Where that club path is going to be is really a lot reliant on where you are at the top of the swing with your depth. So how do we get there? Two things of how we get there. So this is a little bit of the drill also. So what are we going to do? We're going to talk about this. So a stick in the belt loops to measure and see what our hip turn is doing in the backswing. Because your depth at the top is created by how you move in the takeaway and then how you rotate in the backswing. So some players do this in the takeaway, try to make their hands go out or dead straight back. Then they're priming their hands just to travel up. But also, if they're a golfer who doesn't turn all too much, maybe they're trying to resist their hip turn, do not do that, or rotation in general, or they just generally don't rotate enough, that means you're going to have no around portion. Rotation is what gets the hands traveling around in the golf swing. So if you have none of that, the hands are just going to go up. The arms do control the upward movement in this backswing. They do not control the around movement. So we need to add the mechanism that gets it going around you. So one, getting in a good takeaway. So that's making sure our hands are going in, club going out, little chest rotation with those hands going in is going to mean you're going to have this really nice hands in, club out takeaway. Brilliant. And then with this stick in our belt loops, I would want to see players get this stick going halfway to the golf ball. Get that stick to go halfway there. If you feel like you need to lift up your left heel to do that, absolutely go for it. We see so many of the greats of all time do that move, frees up the hip turn. So that's going to get you, as we can see here, way more depth. So we're not trying to drag the hands around us. We're not trying to drag the arms. We are just getting a good takeaway spot and then freeing up that hip turn. And then that's going to make it so we're in a good place to be able to have good hip clearing, have good rotation, and actually hit the ball good for it. So there we go. Boom. So third reason of why golfers hit the ball worse when they clear their hips in a downswing. And that's because, again, where they are at the top of the backswing, but in their shaft angle. They're at the top of the backswing like this, across the line. Now, when you're across the line, you will, as soon as you start to turn your hips or do anything to start the downswing, your club shaft will be steep. And regardless of what you're doing, whether you're clearing the hips, whether you're not, and you've got a steep shaft in the downswing, you're going to have a tough time playing consistent golf. Because if you maintain that steep shaft, of course, that's going to be no good. You're going to be really down on it, really across it, not going to be playing good golf from there. Or you will start to early extend to reroute the club back to a shallower plane going through the golf ball. So we really, unless we've got such an amazing first shallowing movement in the downswing, we'll find it really tough to be able to make that work. So that's why, what you've got to do instead, you've got to be, now this is for golfers who've got, let's say more of a normal length swing, or maybe slightly shorter. This would be great. You could be either down the line or slightly laid off, because then as soon as you start to turn the downswing, the club is going to be nice and shallow already for you. So that's going to be great. And then you can just continue to turn, everything's going to fall onto the golf ball nicely. So we want to be down the line or slightly laid off to make our hip rotation work for us. So again, there's way more into it than just turning the hips nicely. So, okay, how are we going to go about doing that? Again, just like before, there is a couple things that really give you or lead to your success of doing this. One, setup. If golfers are setting up like this with their kind of right arm and their right shoulder in this internal rotation, so simpler, having the inside of the elbow pointing down the target or slightly right of target. That's going to prime the right arm to move up and in like so, which is going to give you an across the line shaft as you get up to the top. Where we would want to have this right arm a little bit more like so. We would want it a little bit more to where the inside of the elbow is pointing either straight in front of you or a little bit to the left. That's more external shoulder rotation. So then as you move up to the top of the swing, the right arm will start to fold and not pull back. That club is now going to be in a much better spot at the top. It's going to be either down the line or slightly laid off. So having that right arm in that good spot is absolutely essential. That will really help you at setup to then give you that more appropriate shaft angle at the top. But again, takeaway comes into this a big amount as well. Players who have their big whipping on the inside, so hands that go out, club that goes in, lots of forearm rotation, that'll make you across the line too. Because of course, as we get up to top of the swing, we're not going to maintain that really horizontal shaft that whipping that club with that forearm roll gives you. You're not going to get up here. That's just not going to happen. You will start to reroute the club up to the top to then get you a little bit more across the line, and you'll absolutely be steep in a downswing and even over the top from that. So takeaway, hands in, club out. That's what we want. So if we can get those hands in, club out when we're at just about level with that right leg, making sure we got that good right arm set up. We could do this as a little drill if we suffer with this problem, and then up and through. Then we're going to be getting ourselves into a place where we can turn the hips and play well. Now, number 4. This is you are literally just trying to clear the hips, and that's it. So if we don't try to do anything else in the downswing, like shift our weight left, you're going to be in for a bad time. Because if you just try to clear the hips and don't try to have any weight shift, you are completely hanging back on that right side, which is going to make you fat it. It's going to make you tip the club out in front of you. It's just going to be absolutely awful. You're going to get no power. So often I hear people say they're clearing the hips, but actually hitting it shorter. That's because you're not trying to do anything else in the downswing. They're not trying to shift. They're not trying to do anything. They're just hanging back on that right side, trying to clear it, and absolutely hitting weak, fat shots. Got to remember, the downswing is a blend of movements, especially with what the body does. It is rotation, absolutely, that's only one portion. That's the torque put into the ground, that's one. Shifting, of course, getting that weight shifting to your lead side is lateral force, so important. That's what controls the ball and turf contact. It moves the lowest point of the swing arc forward, and we also have, as we're going through the golf ball, a little bit of lead side extension, so a vertical force. We have those 3 movements like the body does in a downswing. So if we are completely neglecting all of that just to get some more hip turn, you're not going to get the hip turn. You're not even going to see the benefits from it. So that's why we still want to get that body shifting left. So a little drill I like to do with people to get them turning their hips, but to really get them blending movements in is just a simple one that we see Rory McIlroy do all the time. That's just get, let's say, club across your shoulders here, turn up to where you get to the button of the club pointing just in front of the ball, and then still get that body moving and shifting. So everything's still having a little drift with that club and then turning through. So that's where you're getting everything going at the same time there. So you want your shift and your rotation to happen simultaneously. It's not a bump then turn, because that ain't going to get you turning. That's just going to get you bump and stalling. So you'll see a video I did last week from that. And here we go. So it's a good one to really feel that body still moving, still shifting, and still rotating. So don't neglect that really important part of the golf swing just because you see loads of videos about a certain other area. It's not one thing or another. It is everything blended together. One of the hard things about golf is getting everything in there. That's why it takes so much practice to be able to get, which is why quite often, guys, there isn't one single thing you can think of in the golf swing to boom, make everything click together. It's lots of practice, and getting individual things into golf swing builds you a solid swing. So let's get to the next one. So number 5, the last one here, and that is you are starting the downswing way too fast with your arms. So if you are starting the downswing way too quickly with your arms and you try to rotate and clear your hips at the same time, that's just going to tip the club way more out in front of you. It's going to get you swinging way too out to win, because if we're getting those arms started and we then try to still rotate at the same time, not giving ourselves time to clear the hips, yeah, you're just going to swing massively out to it and chop across it big slices. So again, when players say I'm slicing it, when I'm clearing the hips, again, you could be starting with the arms way too quick. We want to give you time at the top. We want time to be able to let those arms settle and then get some turn. So exactly it. Let's get up to the top. Let's really feel like those arms are just staying there for a little bit whilst our left hip sinks back. We could do this with, let's say, the club underneath the foot drill we had at the first point here in the video. So let's get up there, nice quiet arms, give ourselves time. That's going to make it way easier for you to be able to hit the ball better when you're trying to clear the hips. Calm them arms down. So guys, there we go. Those are the 5 reasons to why when you are clearing the hips, you could be hitting the ball worse. So there's much more to it than just hip rotation equals bad shots. Certainly not the case. Hip rotation equals really good shots. You just got to make sure your golf swing is in a really good spot in certain areas. It doesn't have to be perfect by any stretch of imagination. You just have to have the good variables in your golf swing, which is what I talk about a lot on the Ultimate Guide to Rotation and Downswing, which there's a link in the description just for that. Everything you want to know about rotation is in that. But absolutely, guys, make sure your swing is in a good place and make sure you're clearing the hips properly with that first point. That first point is going to help so many of you out there. If you still want more help from there, I have online lessons on Skillist. Make sure you take advantage of that for us to work one-to-one. So, okay, if you enjoyed the video, click that like button. If you want more golf instruction, just like this, hit a subscribe button, hit a bell button to be notified every time I put out a video.